Today we're going to be taking a look at the newly released iPhone 16e. This phone just released today, February 28th. And basically this phone here replaces the outgoing iPhone SE, which is the iPhone that still had the home button and Touch ID. Whereas this particular phone does not have Touch ID or the home button, as you can see. Basically, this phone is targeted towards those who are wanting to upgrade from the SE. Now, the one thing that gets me with this phone is its price. It's very expensive, and it costs $600. Picking this up today after tax, it came to $650. So very, very expensive. It's no longer considered, in my opinion, a budget phone anymore. The box is still that very skinny design and does not include a power adapter. So if we open it up here, you can see straight away, there is the phone itself, just like every other iPhone unboxing, and in that white and silver color. And first thing you're gonna note is that single camera lens. So on this iPhone, just like the SE, but yeah, you only get a single camera lens. But let's set that off for just a second. And last thing in the box, we get the USB-C to USB-C cable, because this iPhone does also now have USB-C. Now, if you're one of those that are coming from an older iPhone, such as the outgoing SE or something like that, you will have to get basically an entirely new charger setup. So thankfully it does still come with the cable, so you do get a USB-C cable in the box. However, you will have to buy a brand new power adapter if your current power adapter is not already set up for USB-C. So that's something to keep in mind, is the little pamphlet that has your warranty guide and such in it. Now, one thing to note too here is you no longer get Apple stickers in the iPhone box. Apple has since taken that out. That happened with the 16 and 16 Pro last September, so that is unfortunate as well. So getting back to the phone itself, let's go ahead and peel the plastic off of the front here. And from the front, you can immediately see very, very familiar design to recent iPhones in the past years. This has a 6.1 inch OLED display, and it is 60 hertz, does not have 120 hertz. This screen is also the exact same as what you'd find on the iPhone 13, because the body of this phone is basically that of the iPhone 13. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually power it on so we can kind of see the screen a little bit better. But yeah, so this is basically using the body of the iPhone 13. It has a aluminum construction around the frame, a frosted glass on the back with the Apple logo in the center. The one difference, like I said, that makes this very, very unique and very different is that single camera lens on the back. You do not have a dual camera setup like you do on the 16 or even the 15 or the 14 or anything like that. Anyway, so here is the front. It's now powered on, and you can see straight away it looks basically identical to that of an iPhone 13. It has the smaller size notch. The bezels on the outside of the perimeter of the display are also slightly thicker than what you get on the more modern phones, such as the 16 Pro. But it is still OLED, so you still get the deep blacks, you get HDR. And another thing, the glass on the display is also an older version, so it is not the most current ceramic shield, as Apple calls it, is what you get on the 16 and the 16 Pro. So unfortunately, it's technically, on paper, less durable on the front glass than the 16 or 16 Pro. So let's go ahead and go through the setup process real quick. So we want to do English, United States, appearance. So this lets us change our icon size and overall zoom. I'm just going to leave it as default for now. Quick start. We're not going to do transfer for now because I don't have a phone to transfer to. Let's go to the Wi-Fi. And it is now going to go through the activation process. Sometimes this can fail depending on how many people are trying to activate their phone. because of a new iPhone launch. Sometimes that can be a problematic situation. However, it does not look like it is going to be an issue at this current time, which is great. Continue. Set up iPhone. We're going to be not setting it up for a child, just setting it up for myself. Face ID, we're not going to do that in this particular video, as well as not putting a passcode for now. So no passcode for now. And we're not transferring anything. And set up later in settings, don't use. Obviously we have to do the agree to the terms and conditions. Update iPhone automatically. Now we'll do that download automatically for now. iMessage, can do that. Turn on location services, that's good. Cellular, so this is where you could set up your cellular connection or transfer your SIM or number from a phone that you're currently using. But again, I'm not currently doing that. This is just a phone that I'm demonstrating with. So we're going to skip cellular setup, screen time, that's okay to use. Not going to share that. We're going to leave it light mode for now, but you could go to dark. Then we have Apple Intelligence. And now keep in mind, now when you have, because this phone is most likely running iOS 18.3.1, I believe, which is the current latest version of iOS. If you're someone that actually doesn't want to use Apple Intelligence, you'll have to go into the settings and turn it off, because Apple actually now with 18.3 turns Apple Intelligence on by default. So you don't get to choose whether it's on or off. So I'll actually show you real quick once we get to the home screen how to do that. Then we have visual intelligence, which lets you use the camera to search and look up things in your environment. Action button, that's another thing that this phone has. As you can see here, it does have the action button, so it removes the mute switch. So we do get that feature, which is a pretty cool thing to have. It is really nice. I've actually very much enjoyed having the action button on my current phone because of the customization actions that you can assign to it. So we're going to do not now. Siri, I don't need to have Siri, at least for this demonstration. And then there we go. Phone is ready to go, and welcome to iPhone. Now, before I go any further, you can probably see the screen doing a little bit of flickering with some lines kind of going down the display. That is called PWM, and for some people that actually might be problematic because of the display that this iPhone has. It has a lower quality display that has a worse PWM. So for someone that's sensitive to that, you might want to look at a different phone or one of the more expensive iPhones because of that issue. Now you can see it even more actually. With the screen going dim, all those lines show up pretty dramatically now. So yeah, keep in mind with that, just a little bit of a side note. Anyway, moving on, sliding in. Set up cellular. No, we're not doing that right now. Okay, so real quick before I move forward, going to the Apple Intelligence section. Like I said, Apple Intelligence is turned on by default. So if we go into the Settings app and go over here, you can see that Apple Intelligence switch is turned on and is going to automatically start downloading the AI models to the phone. If you do not want that and you do not want to use Apple's AI, all you have to do is turn the switch off and it'll remove all of the AI from the phone and just put it back to normal. I'm just going to leave it on this phone for now because this phone is for demonstrational purposes, so I can show some things around with it. But again, for those that don't want Apple Intelligence, that's how you go and turn it off since it's on by default. One reason that Apple replaced the SE with this phone is so they can basically introduce Apple Intelligence or Apple's AI into the SE type of phone targeted at those people that would be using that. So this has the A18 chip, which is the exact same processor as the iPhone 16. The 16 Pro has the A18 Pro chip. So it's not the Pro chip, but it's the regular A18. Like I said, you'll find in the regular 16. But yeah, you do get the latest and greatest A18 processor in here, which is great. However, you get one less GPU core. So it only has a 6-core CPU, which is normal, but it has a 4-core GPU, down from the 5-core that is in the 16. So it's a binned CPU, but it does support the full Apple Intelligence suite, so you can do all of the AI features that you would do on the 16 or 16 Pro. So if you're someone that wants Apple Intelligence, this is a good entry point for that particular aspect. And then flipping back around to the camera, again, it is a single camera lens setup that has obviously autofocus and all the good stuff there. One thing it is missing is it does not have sensor shift stabilization. It only has standard lens optical stabilization, which is the old type of stabilizer that was in older models of iPhones years ago. So that's not a huge issue, and most people won't notice that. It is also a 48 megapixel sensor, which means you can have the option of taking either 24 or 48 megapixel full resolution images. And because of it being 48 megapixels, you do have the 2x telephoto zoom mode that allows you to zoom in by 2 times and produce a 12 megapixel image, which is great. That is something I actually use on my 16 Pro quite a lot. That 2x zoom is very, very handy in quite a lot of different situations. However, this is not the same 48 megapixel sensor that you will find on, say, the 16 and 16 Pro. It is actually a significantly smaller sensor, as you can tell, because the camera bump here is also quite a bit smaller than what you'd see on, say, a 16 Pro. So if I bring a 16 Pro in here, you can see the cameras on the 16 Pro stick out dramatically more than that of the 16e, because the sensor on the 16 Pro is quite a bit larger. And because of that, the sensor being much smaller on this phone, you're not going to get that much shallow depth of field and or bokeh in the background. Your images might come out a little bit softer than you might expect because of the smaller sensor size, and because of the smaller sensor size and that high resolution of 48 megapixels, you might come to expect low light also will tend to suffer. And so just all in all, it's a good camera, but it is not the top tier camera system that you'll come to find in the more modern iPhones. And another thing also next to that is this True Tone LED flash is also significantly different. It's way, way, way smaller than that of the 16 and 16 Pro. So if I bring the 16 Pro back into here, you can see the flash on the 16 Pro is way bigger. I mean, it's ridiculous at how much bigger the 16 Pro's flash is compared to this one. So because of that, obviously the light output on this particular flash is not going to be as great. And so it's not going to be bad, just the light output probably won't be as good as some of the more expensive phones. And then hopping back around here to the front, the True Tone camera system on the front of this phone is also a slightly older version as well. So the camera on the front is 12 megapixels with a 1.9 aperture. It does have autofocus, which is good, so it still retains that, which is great. And it also has the Face ID camera system as well, which gives you obviously Face ID unlock for most things, but it is housed in that smaller notch rather than the dynamic island. So on this phone, you do get the notch instead of a dynamic island. Now, to wrap up this video, I want to compare this phone to the outgoing iPhone SE, which we have right here. And so you can see there's a pretty significant difference. The iPhone SE has the design of the iPhone 8, essentially, that has been around, or that came out back in 2017. So it's a very old design. It has the home button, it's got Touch ID, and that good stuff. You can see, there we go. But yeah, so this is what that looks like. So if we flip them around, you can see they both have the single camera lens. Obviously, the 16e has a little bit bigger one because the sensor is bigger and it's 48 megapixels. But yeah, again, if you're coming from the SE to this phone, the 16e, you're not going to notice the difference. If anything, you're going to see that the camera is actually much better quality, because the one on the regular SE is very, very out of date at this point, and does not, I mean, it takes okay pictures and video and whatever, but at today's standards, it's not that great. And then if we move to the side here, you can see the design is also much different. The SE over here has that kind of rounded corner design that's basically was first introduced with the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus back in 2014. And then the 16E has that squared off design, which was first introduced with the iPhone 12 series back in 2020. So two very different designs. Again, if you're someone coming from an SE and have never used a modern iPhone with no home button, it's definitely going to be something to get used to. And then lastly here, I want to compare side by side to a 16 Pro. So the 16 Pro has a slightly bigger display at 6.3 inches, whereas the 16E has 6.1 inches. So, but they are very, very similar in size. If we move them to the sides here, you can see design is also very, very similar. However, because the 16E is essentially using the same design as the 13, or the iPhone 13 rather, the 16 Pro has the titanium design and a slight rounded edge on the rail of the phone, whereas the 16E does not have that. It's just completely flat and flush with the glass. And again, on the back, obviously, you have the dramatically different camera system setup, because the 16 Pro has the triple cameras, 16E only has one. And on the bottom, they both have USB-C. 16 Pro has a faster USB-C transfer capability. However, with the 16E, you only get USB 2.0 speeds, which is really unfortunate considering the phone, again, is $600. That's, in my opinion, not acceptable. You should be able to get faster transfer speeds through your USB port, but I digress. Whatever. I apologize about this phone. It has a screen protector that's kind of cracked on it, so it's kind of making it not look very good, but whatever. Anyway, so that's basically it for this video. So yeah, that is basically it for this video, and I'll also have camera comparisons coming out here pretty soon, comparing the 16E's camera to the iPhone SE, as well as the 16E to the 16 Pro, so you guys can get an idea of the camera quality differences between these three phones here. And yeah, with that being said, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hit that like button down below. It is very greatly appreciated. Hit the subscribe button as well. It greatly helps the channel. And if you guys have any questions of any kind, drop those down below, and I'll help you guys out or answer any questions you guys may have. So yes, I'll see you guys in the next one.